welcome to the Saturday Night Live Afterparty. This week, we'll be discussing Season 47, Episode 5 of SNL with host Jonathan Majors and musical guest, oh my god, it's Taylor Swift. I'm Catherine Coleman, and I'm joined this week by Charlotte O'Trimba, as well as New York-based comedy writer and director Katie Talley. You can connect with Charlotte at Charlotte O'Trimba and Katie at Katie Talley. And you can find us at snlpodcast.com. All right, here we go. Hello. We have so much to discuss. We have a first-time host with a massive musical guest who, frankly, I am obsessed with. This episode is the only thing I have thought about since it was announced that Taylor Swift was going to be the musical guest. I've been singularly focused on this. And partially because of that, I made sure to bring on some very good sketch breakdown guests, because for me, this was just only Taylor. The sketches did not matter to me this week. So I got Charlotte, who you know, and I brought in a very established UCB alum, director of my Boogie Munja team, Wilburn, Katie Talley. Hello, y'all. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being, so happy to be here.
Yeah, I hope you have great things to say, because it's been a Taylor whirlwind for me. Nothing else has mattered. I'm behind on every piece of work I have.
I just want to say that I remember when the announcement came.
I'm sorry, do you remember it all too well?
All too well.
Already?
Let the puns begin. And I remember even when they announced it, you called it and said she is going to do the 10-minute version of All Too Well on SNL. And I thought, I don't know, do you think they'll, do a full 10 minutes? That's a long time. And you called it and it happened. Yeah. And now we get to dive in and I'm so excited.
Multiple people told me I was crazy, that there's no way. And I was like,
well, Taylor Swift is also crazy.
Doesn't do it. That
makes sense.
Yeah. Right. It's been, and I'll get into this later, but it's been a long wait. There was no way she wasn't performing that song. But let's introduce the people to Katie Talley. I'm so glad you're here. I was a big fan of Katie even before we got to work together. She was on Mod Night at UCB. She was on teams A Few Sandwich Lovers, Lake Fire, and Presley. She had a show called School's Out that ran at the theater. I've collaborated with her a few times. She always has smart notes, and she has this great way of she appreciates all kinds of different sketches and voices. I'm sure she has one she likes more than others, but she's able to see what's good about any kind of sketch, So I'm so happy you're here, Katie. And we were just talking before this started about some of your sketches that I really loved at UCB. And there's this one that she has. What's the name of it? With the wells at the school?
Well control.
Well control. And it's like a school board meeting, right? And they're talking about there's this well out front and that kids keep falling into and dying. But the parents are like, we can't do anything about the well. It's a tradition.
Yeah, it's very important to their culture.
Right.
They wish. It's very important to them. That one was fun. It was that one halfway working on it, because that was in my show. I was like, all right, it's a parody, it's a mapping sketch on the gun control, and then I was kind of like, but it's also just about silly words. It was also just someone talks about their dad Brad sells wells, and I'm like, it's also just a lot of that. And they throw witches into the witching well. And it's it's gonna get stupider. So the last iteration of it was very, very dumb, but hopefully it was still, enough of a mapping.
It was really silly, but it was really smart, right? The mapping was done really well. I didn't even mean to do that. But yeah, that one's so good. That's one of my all-time favorite UCB sketches that I've seen. So congratulations on that.
I wish we had more podcasts. Such a nice little intro. I'm so honored. I'm like, all right, that'll do it for me, everybody. I'm being out.
Yeah. Great for your ego to get introduced on
really.
the podcast, let me tell you. So just so the people can get to know a little bit about your taste and how you're looking at this episode, maybe share with us a few of your favorite SNL sketches.
Yeah, so my favorite SNL sketches, I think my favorite era is everyone says when I was in high school, SNL was the best. Right. So for me, that's the Maya Rudolph, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Rachel Dratch era, classic. Which was,
Classic.
The best. I think my favorite from then, it's like all of the Caitlyn sketches. Lindsay Lohan on Debbie Downer is a classic. That's like when I don't mind when people break. Like that was like, I get it. Sometimes it's like Jimmy Fallon, get it together. But I was like, no, I'm with you. This is charming.
Yeah, you have Horatio Sands wiping his eyes with a waffle. Like
they just like gave
great.
up, but it was cute. I think Bronx Beat is my favorite of those. Especially my family's from like the Bronx and Yonkers, so I'm I know these ladies for sure.
Right.
Yeah. And I do still have a special place in my heart for Wells for Boys, which is more recent, but that one is just
Julio Torres. Fascinating. Maybe you have a thing for Wells. Have you talked about that with your therapist?
Maybe. No, I'll write that down.
Yeah,
let's
take
dive
note.
in.
Deep dark holes.
Yeah.
Hits into the abyss.
What happened?
All right. Well, I trust you. I think, audience, you're in great hands. Katie's going to give you smart insights, and I'm just going to talk about Taylor Swift. So are you two ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right. For the cold open, head on down to Cruise Street, where we teach kids to sweep the libs away. Katie, was the cold open a win?
I like the cold open. I was very excited. I know this has been mentioned on this podcast before, but like it's really nice to not do Trump sketches. So they got to do something silly. I think they got into a habit in seasons past of just like regurgitating too much stuff from the news and like literal things people said. And that didn't do it for me. So this was like, it was fun. It was a stupid enough thing to play on. Cecily's Marjorie Taylor Greene was so funny. That was great. Chris Redd was great. There were some things I didn't love. Like, what was it? my first thought, which is such a nitpicky thing, but it's like, in what world is Pete Davidson able to play Joe Rogan? Famously short Joe Rogan. Let's get Pete to play him. I was like, absolutely not. But those, I didn't love the Bert and Ernie because they were also just like, they weren't like doing the thing. They like weren't on the same page as Ted Cruz. They like were Bert and Ernie, but they were Proud Boys, but they meant gay. It was just kind of confusing. And I was like, it felt just like put in there as like a different beat, but it's like Chris Redd was playing the game. The other Joe Rogan was doing the game, and they were kind of like, okay. But
they like broke it a little bit.
Yeah, they kind of broke it. And then it kind of was like, now you feel like you're just like throwing in references. I mean, the Britney Spears reference also felt super thrown in, but I didn't mind.
It was like the last.
It was the news of the day.
Yeah.
And I thought that needed a shout out. So I was like, it's also not like breaking the game, but the Bert and Ernie, I was kind of like, now I'm confused of the logic of the Ted Cruz thing. But grab an eagle, grab a gun, I thought was also really funny. I love A.D. Bryant as Ted Cruz. I love Ted Cruz's like also like ridiculous hair in real life and on the sketch. So enough of it worked for me. It was also not very long. I feel like a lot of times their cold opens push like 8 minutes or whatever. And this was like a nice size sketch that wasn't.
I think this was like a nice like 5.5, maybe 6.
Yeah.
Which is still long, but not as long.
I think during the Trump years, they had like 9-minute cold opens. And I would just be like,
this
why
season
is this
they've had
happening?
so long.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I missed those.
So,
God,
I was like, that's not a way to start a show.
On and on, yeah.
I'm already looking at my phone.
Yeah.
I think this one was a fun enough idea. I'll always applaud a cold open that is a little creative. You know, it's not, a Trump impression. It's not a politician behind a podium. They had an interesting premise here, right? But I don't know. I think the entrances and the exits were all a little off timed. Like they felt a little bit fumbly. And I know like these are always written really like they don't get to rehearse this a lot. So I'm pretty forgiving of that, but it just made the timing feel a little off for me. And I think it made it feel longer than it was. So even though it was on the shorter end for an SNL sketch, it was still like, I felt like it was going on a little long. And then I think maybe like I probably would have trimmed like Bert and Ernie, like you said. So yeah, it was maybe a little less fun than it could have been for me just because of that. But I still like it had a lot of moments. It had a lot of really good one-liners that I really appreciated. So like it's a win, but it's not a home run. Charlotte, what'd you think?
Yeah, I would agree with all of those points. I don't have that much new to add, except I have said this every time I've been on here that I hate the really long cold opens and I hate when they trot out like 50 people, it feels like. So I did appreciate this more original premise. I will say, I bet what it was is I think that was Alex Moffat and Mikey Day for Bert and Ernie, and they were the same ones that played Bert and Ernie for that Oscar the Grouch, or the, what I'm talking about, the Grouch
pre-tape for David Harbour.
Yes, exactly. So I bet what they were thinking is like, to your point, with short time, like, we had them already do that. Like, let's bring them out and have this like kind of evolve for them, but I agree with you, Katie, because I couldn't pinpoint why it didn't work for me because I wanted to really like them. But it felt like they were from a different sketch. So
I would have been perfectly happy if it was Bert and Ernie being Proud Boys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that would have made more sense.
Why did we need the extra twist?
Yeah, because you're right. The Oscar the Grouch thing worked so well with Chris Redd.
It almost seemed like it was like an improv scene, and they were just like, no, those aren't the characters we decided on the back line. Like, we're actually Bert and Ernie.
Yeah, like broke the cardinal rule and did not yes and we're just like, no.
No, we're this kind of Bert and Ernie.
Maybe.
Still a win, though, for me, I would say.
Cool. And I'll say it was Aristotle Atari's first live from New York, so that's always nice to see.
Yes.
Congrats to Aristotle. We love a moment for a featured player.
Yes.
All right, well, let's keep going. Let's talk about the monologue. Jonathan Majors confirms that, yes, he did go to Yale. Charlotte, how'd you feel about the monologue?
Oh, I really wanted to like it. Yeah. It just felt a little ho-hum. We kind of got like a basic rundown of his growing up, but we could just read that on Wikipedia. Like, I wanted a little more meat. I don't know. And I don't know if part of that was maybe they didn't know exactly where to go with him or something. I'm not faulting anybody, but I didn't feel anything that really grabbed me from it. I think he's a very talented actor, obviously, and very good looking. So he has that sort of natural charm up there, but there wasn't anything sort of like quirky, I guess, or something a little bit unique in the monologue that grabbed me. So it was like a win, like a reluctant win for me, I guess. Like, it wasn't bad, but it was there.
That's fair. Katie, did it land for you?
I had similar thoughts where I wanted more hard jokes from him. Like, there wasn't like a really strong like theme or premise or like something where it's like, oh, we're doing a song or we're doing a bunch of audience participation, whatever. It was like a classic monologue. But besides, like, Idris Elba is hotter than me, and that's my roundabout way of saying I went to Yale. There like weren't really many jokes. And so I was kind of just like, all right, we like learned about your upbringing and your background, but where are the jokes, guys? Especially after, like, I almost feel like they, in a way, like, dug themselves a hole with the Kim Kardashian monologue. And I'm just like, now that I know what you guys can do, like, what happened?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that one was really good. This was not a highlight as far as monologues go. It made me feel a little iffy about Jonathan. And, I like, to your point, like, Charlotte, like, I didn't have a problem with, I think, the content of it, because I think they did have to introduce him to us. I think. Yeah. Like, I think Marvel fans know who this guy is, but a lot of people aren't real clear on him. So, like, I don't necessarily fault them for that. I think, to me, the big problem was he was very, very nervous.
He seemed a little shaky in the beginning.
Yeah. Like, obviously, who among us wouldn't be? Like, I'm not faulting the guy for it, but it was he was so nervous that he was talking so fast that he was slurring the words together. And so, like, I was like, I'm having a hard time even understanding this. There's like he was too nervous to leave like a comedic pause, right? He seemed charming and like he had a good energy about him, but it didn't fill me with a ton of confidence for like, oh, like, how's he going to be in the sketches? Like, he's very nervous. And luckily, I mean, as I'll go on to say, I think in the sketches he actually seemed much more comfortable, because I guess he was acting more then. But not a super strong monologue on this one. Sounds like we're all on the same page there.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, let's get into more sketch fare then. It's time for the traditional March of the Suitors to find Queen Matilda a husband or a wife. Katie, what are your thoughts on this sketch?
My first thought with Catherine, I know you'll appreciate, when they mentioned specifically she was 19, I was like, it's a Taylor Swift reference. I know Taylor was 20, but I was like, Sadie's 19 in the film, so this is something. I was like, no, you need to cool it.
It did. I had it similar. I was like, this seems like something Taylor could cameo in.
Yeah, it's immediately like looking for a boyfriend sketch. Like, okay. But I like this one. It wasn't, I would say it was a win. It wasn't like the strongest knockout of the park sketch of the night. It reminded me kind of like the Owen Wilson PTA sketch in the beginning of the season, but that was stronger because it rotated characters so much faster. And this was kind of like a joke bucket sketch, but they just like didn't have enough buckets, kind of. Like
that is, thank you. Yes.
I liked the beginning, and I liked the like Dave Prince joke with Jonathan, but I that beat was a little slow, and I wanted like Eggo's like entrance to have a little more drama. I just kind of felt like I wanted it to just go faster. I wanted to just have like a bunch of people. I liked Punky coming in and like shooting her shot. That was fun. I feel like we don't see a ton of her either. I liked that was like a different element too. That was different from the other beats. But yeah, it was fun. It also kind of was like a meh blackout for me. Of like, this night's gonna be crazy. Like, okay. It seemed like it was like, and it was like a freeze frame, right?
Yeah, but it was like a slightly delayed freeze frame.
Yeah. And then it was like, and next up, I forget what the joke was for like what was next on
like
the
a
channel.
Deadly, right? Well,
Yeah,
wasn't
it
it
was
supposed to be then about her? Like she would become the queen and she's like a deadly
she became
queen.
the queen and she was like the terrible or Tawny the terrible.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't make that instantaneous connection. I was just kind of like, all right. I mean, ending sketches is insanely hard, so it makes sense.
Right.
Especially when it is just like a rotating thing like that. But I think I would have liked to end on a stronger joke.
Yeah.
If someone had come back or something like that.
Or like them going, like an action, more of them maybe like going to the dinner together. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like they hold
more
hands
with them.
and walk off.
Yeah.
This had its moments, and I was having a hard time pinning down like why exactly it didn't work for me. And I think you're right, Katie. Like it seems like it either needed way more people coming through or like one person coming through. Like,
or if they interacted, maybe.
Like
Sorry,
I think Eggo and Punky were both fabulous. Like they're what I really loved about this. I wouldn't have hated if almost like the whole thing was just like Jonathan Major's fake prince. Like I was having a lot of fun with that. But you're right. It was way too long for how the sketch was set up. So it was like, let's make it all this or make this way faster. It seemed like they were going to really explore like tropes of guys too. Because the first one was, the guy that likes you but you don't feel that way about. And I was like, let's like really dive into like different like funny things about these tropes of guys. And then the next one was just like a penis joke.
Your classic trope.
Right.
Guy with I don't know.
Guy with penis.
So like this got a couple laughs from me, but not a big win. Definitely not as big as Dismuke's character's penis. Charlotte, where'd you land on it?
Yeah, I will say I agree with both of you. I wanted more, I think, on where I land between the two, whether it's like we spend more time with each character or just with Jonathan's character or more characters. I think I definitely wanted more because I also felt like when it ended, it was almost like too soon. Not that it felt like it was going so fast, but that we hadn't seen enough or something. Like we didn't have the idea fully formed. But
like I was surprised when it ended. Like,
I was surprised. Exactly. I really loved Chloe Fineman in this, and I do think this could be like a role for her to do like a historical British, high class but like quirky, unhinged high society person. I think that's something they can play with, and I do love a history. Like I love that they went back in time, they're dressed up, and like Mikey Day and 80 were so great. So I felt like it had the ingredients, and it's not the usual, I like when we can do like a History Channel type thing. I always love those. So I felt like the ingredients were there and I was excited. And then I just felt like I wanted more from it. I agree. I did love the Eggo and Jonathan part, but I don't know if cutting it would, maybe it was just like we needed to cut Keenan. I don't know. Like I liked that. I don't know what it was. Then it needed to be a triangle. I don't know where I'm going with this. Okay.
Something that this also, I was thinking about it later, and I feel like the fact that Ego entered from the same place as all the suitors kind of took me out. I was like,
that's what
she should be like storming in from the guests, or like she followed him, but it's like she just entered in the same way as all the suitors that I was like, oh, this ally of his, or you know what I mean? She didn't seem like she was like coming to get him. I mean, I liked her like pulling him off by the ear. That was funny. But it was just like, I think I needed to be like, oh, not planned entrance, but I didn't feel that way.
Like if she would have come from behind, like from the throne area.
That would be fun.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're all liking the premise and the setup here. It just didn't quite deliver on it. That's fair enough. Let's keep going to the Please Don't Destroy Boys being... I loved this. I mean, it comes as no surprise, seeing as it had a Taylor Swift's first appearance of the night. But I also really like that the Please Don't Destroy Boys, as I've taken to calling them, they're changing it up a bit. I think on the last week, Steve on the show mentioned how it's fun how all of their videos are sort of in this metaverse where like they're in their office, they're working at SNL, and like that's really fun, and I'm really enjoying that. But we were curious to see if it would ever sort of expand past that. And I think this was a really cool way to do it. Like it's still in that world, but they left their office and like went to a different part of like production at SNL, you know? So I really appreciated that. I think the song was so funny, like when it took that twist, and then in every new verse, they found a surprising way to, it was the same twist, but they found a new way to like sneak it in there. And it really got me every time. And then Taylor Swift with the bridge, you know, it's yours to lose at that point to me. I'm just jealous I didn't get to write myself into the sketch with her. But yeah, this was a huge win. This was probably the biggest win of the night. I loved it. Even before Taylor arrived, I was like, oh, this is fabulous. And then that was just the cherry on top. So yeah, big win for me. Charlotte, what'd you think?
I agree. Total big win. And I love, to your point, I love how they expanded, but then I love how they keep this through line of always sort of amongst themselves saying that they're going to say one thing and then they say the opposite. And so it almost becomes this satisfying sort of bite. Like we're all sort of waiting for that to happen, and they do it, and it is so funny when they do it. So that was really funny when they say, okay, we're going to give them a note and say we're not going to do this, and then like, it's great, no notes, you know, it's perfect. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Or the small,
do you have an ashtray?
Yeah, the ashtray one. I was just going to say, it was like so funny to me. So I do love that they're consistent in their personas that they're playing, you know, and because that does make it really satisfying to watch these, and especially as it then expanded into the song and a new production space. And I just have to say, Taylor Swift like crushed this. Like it was sort of a new vibe for her. Like she's usually, this isn't really her vibe for songs. So I just loved everything about it. God, she just looks so good and just crushed it. Obsessed.
She's perfect.
She's perfect.
Katie, are you on the same page?
No, I hated it. Just kidding.
Imagine.
No, it was great. It was so good. I loved it. Yeah. I mean, at first I thought it was just going to be a sketch about Pete wanting to be friends with these like three like rookies on SNL, and I thought I was really excited for that. But then I was still very happy with this. I really like the Please Don't Destroy Boys. I love them on TikTok and Twitter. They just seem like sweetie pies. And it does seem like they realize they're on SNL and they have a ton of money. Like they're not pretending to be on SNL and can only do sketches that they could have done in their apartment. Like, no, you guys can hoist yourselves up in like Peter Pan pulley system if you want to. Like you can do a fake Dune cutaway for 15 seconds. Like you're on Saturday Night Live and you're doing digital sketches, so you can do even more crazy shit. It was, but just even on the page was great. Like it heightened in such like fun, unexpected ways. And it was like, it gave me like, I think you should leave vibes, and kind of like, we know what we're doing, but we're doing it in the most fun ways possible of just like, okay, no, it's not like that. It's not about you guys. Immediately says all three of their names. Like, oh, okay, like we'll do a Dune version. Immediately goes back to 3 sad versions.
Yeah. Right.
It was just, very silly, heightened and really great. unexpected ways. I think Pete, like, low-key wants to be a rapper. He raps like all the time on the show.
That's
Does he also venture. Does he really have a Ruth Bader Ginsburg tattoo? Like, were those his real tattoos?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, he does.
And I liked the little, it was funny, my twin watched this and she was like, is it known enough that Taylor Swift is like good at bridges? And I was like, I think if you don't know that, it doesn't come off as a weird joke to be like,
right.
Oh, we have Taylor in for the bridge. But if you do know that, you're like, oh, of course, specifically she comes in for the bridge. Right. What a fun specific for me as an audience member.
Right. It's like the note you gave me. I was just I was writing a Taylor Swift sketch and Katie was like, well, like, I think you have to make it to where if you don't know enough about Taylor Swift, it's funny. And if you do know a lot about Taylor Swift, it's really, really funny. Mm-hmm. And I think like this is a really good example of how to do that. Where like if you know like she's the queen of the bridges, that's a good joke. And if not, it's just like a thing that happened in the sketch.
Yeah. You bring in your musical guest for part of a song.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And my last thing was great. This was a great blackout. I loved this blackout.
Yes.
That was fun.
I forgot what it was already.
It was Taylor singing "And They're Gonna Die Alone."
Oh, and they're gonna die alone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just the pacing of her entry was also so good. Of like, okay, we won't do the sketch after the bridge. Intro Taylor, immediately back to the song. Like, it felt like a TikTok in that way of just like, there's no breathing room in the best way of like, okay, and then you just like fall back into the song, and that's also packed with jokes. It makes me so crazy when people are like, it's so hard to do like a song with jokes. Like, I feel like I saw so many musical sketches on stage that were like comical but no jokes, and then you see a song with jokes, or like watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and you're like, no, you can put jokes in here. You can put real jokes.
Yeah.
It can be easy to get distracted by like having to keep the format of the song, but like it's doable.
Just those the specifics were so good about, he looks like Big Bird or a scarecrow. That's great.
Yeah. Fabulous. And I do like that they've really kept that sort of frantic energy in the editing that they have like on YouTube and TikTok and stuff. But I do think this one sometimes, like, I think of the one they did with Rami Malek that was cut for time. It was almost like it was jumping around so much that it wasn't linear anymore, and that sort of annoyed me. But this one like was frantic but made sense. And I appreciated that as just like, it makes me feel like a boomer to even say it, but
boomers love linear time.
Common known fact. Cool. So Please Don't Destroy. It's early in the show, hitting big, bringing the energy, huge win.
Yeah.
Will the next one be as big of a win? Let's find out. Welcome to the 2021 Audacity in Advertising Awards. Katie, was it a win?
Just like, I liked the idea. I didn't think this was one that I had to like stew on a little bit and try to like really put my finger on it. I really liked Heidi in this. I thought like Jonathan again had some like pauses that made the game a little like messy up top. But I think like I really like, but how do you make it diversity? I thought that was funny. Calling back to the Pepsi commercial was funny. There were definitely funny moments, but I think just like at the crux of it, we were making fun of like a real phenomenon in advertising, but using fake ads. And it's just like harder to poke fun at that when SNL is making the cringy ads. And it's like, well, of course they're cringy. You guys made them. And it makes sense because like they're all like realistic, but they're just not real. And I could imagine like a non-SNL version of this using a real Facebook portal ad or a real BP ad and it being so much stronger because you're like, oh yeah, that's insane that they did that. But when SNL's making the ads, it's kind of like, well, duh. So I think if it was like a pitch meeting, because I think advertisements like trying to be inclusive and progressive and like that kind of stuff while also like selling us, a social network that's going to like steal all our data and like contribute to like, genocide all over the world and rig elections, like do horrible things. Like that's a real thing that's funny to satirize, but just in a fictional award show was just tough for me to like sink my teeth into really and like flow with.
Yeah, just maybe not the right place for it.
Yeah, I think it's not the right structure for the idea because I like the idea.
Yeah, same. I liked this one. I loved Heidi's flow. It was great. Jonathan had a good Jake from State Farm. Like I liked seeing the spokespeople. Like that was really fun. And I like the idea of making fun of ads that are like trying too hard to be woke, despite how like terrible the company is. Like you just like you said, Kate, like this is a really fun idea, and like just talking about these ads and like they clearly had some commentary on like some real ads they wanted to get in there, but I think it got bogged down trying to hit the awards show beats instead of the ad beats. I wanted to see more ads.
Yeah.
And like focus on those jokes. And that's really hard. It's something I struggle with when I try to write like a parody of something with a clear format, like a game show or something. Like I just get it's easy to get distracted by like, oh, but there has to be a round 2. And you're like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so like it can be hard to find that balance, but yeah, this was just kind of a base hit for me when I feel like it could have been a home run. Because I think they could have done more ads. I think maybe like you said, the first couple could have been real ads, and maybe that's like a tricky thing with
they don't want to
let them show it on the show.
Like legally, could they have done that? I don't know.
Also, they probably don't want to like lose potential advertisers,
right?
If they're like making fun of, I don't know.
Yeah, I get that that's tricky, but I do think that would have made it stronger. Or maybe if it was just like an ad that they made, but it's so close to the real ad that we all recognize it. I think that might have hit it home harder.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked it, but I didn't love it. Charlotte, how'd you feel?
Yeah, same as you two. I mean, on paper, and when I saw the title screen come on, I thought this was going to be a real home run, and it just fell really flat. And I agree. I think what I wanted was longer ads. And like you said, Catherine, just maybe sticking to one category and just really like stewing over those ads. And maybe we like meet the people behind the ads, or I don't know, something like that. I don't even know if that's the answer. And honestly, I kind of disagree with you guys. Like I didn't dislike Jonathan and Heidi, but I didn't think either of them brought enough of a character to kind of like carry it through, because that also is what was lacking. Like there wasn't some quirky or like funny banter between the two of them, and neither of them were really like a caricature of those two, which I think that would have maybe made it funnier. Like there was room to like overact Flo, I think. Like I think she played Flo very true, and I don't know the actress's name who plays her, but because there were a few jokes, like I signed a like billion-year contract. Other than that, there weren't that many like jokes about it. So I felt like there was a chance to really like find the humor in her persona, because it is very specific. And then same thing with Jake from State Farm. I thought there were definitely places that Jonathan could have gone to make him like, he's so, that Jake from State Farm is so sort of like wholesome and like saves you money. I felt like he could have even been more like schoolboy with him or something, or like there was room there, and I felt like that also is what made it fall flat, is there was no sort of laugh break in between each of the categories too, at least for me. This is my opinion.
Also, this is a tangent that I may well cut out, but it's funny because Jake from State Farm is a good example of like, we have to make things diverse, because the original Jake from State Farm was like a middle-aged white guy. And then
they did not even mention it.
We're going to recast it. Yeah, and now Jake from State Farm's like a black man. And it's like, fine, cool. But like, it would have been funny to reference, like, even my own character is Jake, but make it diverse, Yeah,
that could have been a line at the top. I was waiting for, I totally agree with you. I forgot about this. I was waiting for him to say that. Something like, you might remember me as the white Jake, but like.
Just recast.
Yeah, right. Because it is so absurd and funny. Yeah.
All right,
so far to go with this, and it just so sad.
Another premise that we really liked that just didn't quite deliver on the promise of it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's continue on. Let's see if we can get a very solid win again. It's Strange Kid Tales, a show where parents tell paranormal stories about their kids. Charlotte, did you enjoy this one?
Again, it was almost there. I loved the idea. This had like so much to go on, and my highlights were definitely the kids. I thought the kids all did well, and they were like really cute and funny. And
Especially the one with Heidi at the end that got so excited to deliver her line.
So excited. And I also loved the little boy at the beginning who was trying not to laugh at Kenan and Jonathan. I mean, that was so cute. So honestly, the highlights were the kids. I thought every parent that came on was so great. And I loved Kenan. And then I just feel like Jonathan, didn't give me much. He just was sort of saying the lines and it was truthful. He's bringing the truth that you learn as an actor to be in the moment and present. But I didn't believe their relationship as co-hosts. I didn't feel any sort of chemistry or that they were buddies that are thrown into the situation, because that's clearly the premise. It's two people that hate this that are hosts. And that in itself is funny because there's such a craze right now with real crime and ghost stories and things. So I feel like that part is funny, but then Jonathan's character didn't do anything different from Kenan's character, and they didn't sort of play off of each other. And so I think that's what was lacking is there would be the funny reactions from Kenan, and then they would just immediately get up and leave, where the funny parts were when we had to watch them sit through the interactions with the kids and the parents. So I think those are my two big notes, is I wanted them to sit longer and not get up. I think if the getting up could have been a later beat, I don't think it could have been at every beat. And then I think I just wanted more from Jonathan's character. I won't fault him fully. Maybe we could have written some more jokes in. Maybe they could have together in the room when they were doing read-throughs all together fleshed out a little bit more about their relationship with each other, because that part just seemed a little bit lacking for me.
Could have even been a throwaway line up top of this is my cousin, whatever. I drug him into this.
Yeah. And then you have so much to go with that. Then he could be rolling his eyes. I don't know.
Yeah. Totally. Katie, what'd you think?
I think similar. I did like the premise a lot because I think it's a very relatable premise. My brother used to joke that if he ever had a kid, he would have to keep a very close eye on them from ages 6 to 10 because that's when they're most likely to be haunted or something. It is creepy kids is a thing, and being afraid just that's the scariest part of horror movies. So you're just all right, I really hope this kid isn't haunted or this kid isn't. And they say creepy stuff they don't think is creepy. So I really like the premise. I feel like I'm a broken record with this episode, but yeah, similar to what Charlotte said. I just think some of the beats were kind of repetitive. It was kind of just Kenan being no, and then them jumping out of their chairs. But the imagine it, what do we always say? Imaginary friends or ghosts? I think they even said what do we always say or something like that. And that's okay, say more stuff that you guys always say. What else is true about spooky kids?
Yeah.
More of those specifics instead of just nope, I hate it, I'm scared. And also in the beginning, I didn't even realize that that's why they didn't like hosting this show. At first, I thought they were just apathetic and over hosting a boring show. And then it was oh no, they're very afraid of ghosts. And that just didn't seem like the payout. I don't know. They should have had to ask more invasive.
With a line about how you're watching sci-fi. Why?
Yeah, and it was okay, we're hosting a boring show. And I was oh no, you just don't like spooky stuff.
Yeah,
but you're hosting a spooky show. And they should have had to I think ask more probing questions. If they didn't like even the questions they were asking, but it was kind of just spooky kid, we don't like it. Next spooky kid.
Yeah, but you're right. All they said was I hate this job, but a paycheck's a paycheck.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't say what it was.
That could be the same if you worked at Wendy's or whatever. It was not specific to a spooky show.
Right. Yeah, I didn't love this one because as soon as they sort of started saying we don't like this, and then the kid came out, I knew exactly what the deal was. And then it never wavered from that. There wasn't a ton of heightening. And I started to feel like I was the problem at this point in the show. I was I'm just too anxious to get to Taylor Swift, and none of the sketches could possibly appease me. I'm impatient, and I'm just not here for it. So I was this is a me problem. So thank you for validating that it was not necessarily a me problem. I just they were heightening how the kids were doing. Their stories got kind of more detailed and weird. I loved the kid that said, I died in World War II or something.
Yeah.
Or it was like when I was old.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But then like Keenan and Jonathan did the same reaction that they did last time. So I just wish that they had matched the heightening that the kids were doing. Like if their reactions had been more varied, it could have been a lot of fun, but it just sort of repeated that same beat.
I will say I did really like the parents. All of the parents were like hyped about this. If
Right,
I remember correctly, 80 was like, this is so cool. Like the man in the red jacket followed us home. Like I really liked that element. I just think they were like, they could have just been better interviewers. Like if they had a producer come on too that was like, hey, you guys have to like do your jobs. You're going to get fired and that's bad. Like introduce a stake too for them to have to do their job. And yeah. And I would love to have probed the parents of like, how are you not? Because Keenan and Jonathan's reactions were over the top, but the parents' reactions were also crazy. So I would have loved for them to have to probe like, why are you not afraid that your child was in World War II? Like, why do you think that's cool?
Like, why
that's
are
insane.
you not locking him in a room?
Yeah. Like, you don't have to be on our level, but you should not be on this level either.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That could have been fun to explore too. So yeah, we're hitting a theme here. Cool premise, didn't deliver on it. Let's see how we feel about the next one. Let's keep going. Men need a little help making friends. Try taking yours to Man Park. Katie, was this one a win?
I loved this one. I thought this was great. Yeah, it's such a real thing too. Like there are tons of men I know who's like their best friend is their girlfriend and not like we're best friends, but like I don't have friends kind of way. But it was played in such a fun, like joyful and playful way that it wasn't just like making fun of these guys. And I like the justifications too of like misogyny makes and patriarchy makes it like intimacy hard for men. And like I liked Heidi's blackout too, but it didn't like dwell on that. It was just like guys throwing Nerf balls and hugging. And yeah, it was, I also really like, yeah. I really like the beginning too of like, he comes home and he's like speaking really fast and the words are all out of order because he hadn't spoken all day, or he rockets information at me was the line. And that was really funny. Yeah, the Bo Burnham line. I also just loved the wives and girlfriends watching and being like, which one's yours? I didn't love the like Pat's Ravens Rick and Morty beat. Those felt like the same. But that was really like the only small thing that didn't work for me. I thought it was really fun. I loved after they're done like running around yelling at each other, drinking IPA. It was great. It was so many really great specifics and like a really fun real premise. Yeah, definitely a win. I feel like I'm like a NFL commentator when I was like, that was a win. Yeah, they really passed the ball well there. Really achieved sketch in that one.
Achieved sketch is a new good note to give to people. Yeah, achieved sketch.
You did sketch. Congrats.
I liked this one too. It's definitely very accurate. Like sometimes my husband just tells me so many things at once that I couldn't possibly keep up with them all. And it's actually kind of sad because a lot he'll say like, I just feel like I don't have close friends like you do. Like you have like childhood best friends and stuff. I'm like, it's not a you thing. Like it's a male thing. Like y'all don't have these like close bonded friendships where you like talk about your feelings and open up. It's just like I feel like the high majority of male friendships are just kind of surface level. We like each other and we sort of talk at each other sometimes, you know?
Yes.
So it definitely speaks to something real, and I really liked that about it. I thought, and just like making it a dog park is so fun. And just the smallest thing in the world that I loved was the IPA dispenser was green, just like the dog water dispensers at the actual dog park in New York City. So that was great. Charlotte, where'd you land on it?
Yeah, I fully agree with both of you. This was, a win all around. And I agree, like the attention to detail in mapping this onto your experience at a dog park, like because they stuck with it, they were so loyal to that. I think that's what really was the win, because that was the wives and girlfriends watching, the shy dog, he's a little shy, he doesn't want to come out yet, even the big breeds, small breeds, loved the Bo Burnham line. Yeah, I just so many wins. Yeah, and to your point too, it's like I remember like just recently, my partner, he went to go get drinks with his friend because his friend he and his girlfriend had just broken up. And so he went to go get drinks with them and he came back after like 2 hours and I was like, okay, so like what's the scoop? Like, yeah, what happened? He's like, I don't know. We didn't talk about it. We just sat there and drank. And I was like, what?
Nathan will do shit like that all the time. And I'm like, what do you mean you didn't talk about it?
Like, football game
this is the only thing I would care about.
Like they had broken up like that day. So the thing was they had like tag teamed. Like, so 3 different friends went and had drinks with this guy. Like, and none of them talked to him about it. They all just like sat there and drank.
Just chatted.
It's like, what did you talk about? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, anyways.
That is what worked also at the sketch, that it was that you saw the men hugging and being like, can you be my best man? And it wasn't just like men to play with. It was like like here's where you go form friendships.
Yes. Right? They were finally able to bond in that scenario.
Yeah, and that made it very fun.
Safe.
And again, I just love that blackout of just like it's hard for them to be intimate. Like, wait, or it's harder for men. Like, don't film me when I say that. That's great.
Right. Oh my God, that was so perfect.
All right, we got a big win.
What's next? What's next? I don't have any notes.
I don't know. Couldn't tell you. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. Taylor Swift performs All Too Well, parentheses 10-minute version, parentheses Taylor's version, parentheses From the Vault.
Is that real? That's the real title on Spotify, right?
That is the real title.
Unbelievable.
Ridiculous.
It's like PEMDAS is a song title.
What order do I do these operations in? I have talked at length about this all week long, and I'm not about to stop now. So buckle up, everybody. First of all, I think it's important to provide a little context for some people who are somehow out of the loop.
Live under a rock.
What's happening here? Taylor Swift does not own the masters for her first 6 albums. They were sold out from under her, actually. She wanted to buy them. They didn't offer them to her. They sold them. So in an attempt to regain control of her artistic creations, she is now re-recording those albums. So she started on Fearless, which was her second album, and now she's doing Red, which came out on Friday. And so on the original version of Red, there was this song called All Too Well. It was never a single. I don't think the label really thought anybody was going to care about it. I don't think Taylor really thought anybody was going to care about it. But it became a fan favorite. It was the best song she'd ever written up until Folklore and Evermore, and then we can maybe have a debate about it. But we, the Swifties...
Wow, 1989 erasure. Sorry.
Damn.
Wow.
I love every album, but All Too Well was a lyrical storytelling masterpiece.
Okay. Okay, keep going. So she's re-recording, releasing.
This was a huge song, and we, the Swifties, just connected with it because it's such like it's just a really good piece of storytelling, and it connects with you, especially if you've been through a relationship like that. Like it's just really good. And so we've known all this time. This album came out in 2011. The original version of this song was 10 minutes long. And so for 9 years, people have begged her to release the 10-minute full version of the song because everyone loves it so much. We're like, we need to know what was missing. Okay. So for all that time, we waited, and now the Red re-release came out Friday, included the 10-minute version of All Too Well. And it has extra lyrics, like a whole extra like bridge and verse at the end. And it's so good, it makes me want to die. And as just yet another piece of context and a quick aside, there's a lot of controversy about her like releasing a diss track 10 years later, like she's a crazy person. But like, it's like this whole narrative that like she'll never get over things. She's so dramatic, and that's just asinine. I can't even fully get into it. But
who said that? Let's go beat them up. I mean, like
everyone, like so many people think this, and I'm like, guys, she's re-recording these albums to own the masters, and she included the extended version because we wanted
The
it.
fans.
She's
It was
not
for the
like
fans, yeah.
she's not like sitting in her bed crying over Jake Gyllenhaal every night. She's doing this like for us. She's very happy where she is. She's not mad at Jake Gyllenhaal. She's just like releasing the song because we wanted it. So
I will say you cannot say that Taylor Swift is not dramatic, though.
she is absolutely dramatic. And that's not an insult. Like that's
yes, in the best
This
way.
is where we get our beautiful music. Yeah.
Right. So that was a whole rant. Thank you for tuning in. Now, so to the performance that was to die for, the leaves, the snow, the arrangement. Like it's already a new song, but it was arranged slightly differently. I was initially upset that I couldn't do the standby line this weekend because my mom's in town. But then after it was over, I was like, thank God. Because if I was in the room, they would have to escort me out. I would be like
you would have been screaming and crying and throwing up.
Yes, like they would have to have me out. So I've made absolutely no attempt to give an unbiased review. So hopefully, Katie, how did you feel about this absolutely perfect and flawless piece of art?
Oh boy. I liked it a lot. Immediately, it was very clear the audience was full of Swifties.
Yes.
Not just from the introduction, but then once she got to the first like new verse or new bridge, like people got really excited. I liked it. It's like it's one of those things where you can't like consume it without that context, I feel like. And with that context, it was nice. Like didn't she say on a late night show recently that the song isn't like hers anymore? It's the fans. Like that was the feeling of it. It's like it's a really sad breakup song, but like she seemed kind of happy doing it because I think she knows that so many people connect to it. And like she's also now performing it when she's in a much different place in her career. Like she's not a punchline anymore because of her boyfriends. She's in a happy relationship. So that came through, which was really nice. And now I think you're going to somehow punch me through the computer screen. But it wasn't the most impressive vocal performance in the world. We can be honest. But that's not why I listen to Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? I don't think I listen to her for storytelling, for the songwriting. That was there. Again, it was no 2014 Grammys, but she was like channeling that energy, which I liked. But she crushed the bridge, which is my favorite part. There was like some parts in the chorus where I was like, you really gotta stick that note. But it didn't take me out of it. I still loved it. I think it was an insane flex to do 1 10-minute song. That was crazy. But like amazing that she did it. I was initially also like, I don't know how I feel about the film in the background. And I was like, what if she lets the dialogue play?
I started wondering early on. I was like, wait, are we going to watch the fight scene?
Yeah.
I don't know that I need that tonight.
Yeah. I did think, I was like, well, that's like even longer than 10 minutes. They would never let her do that. But I did actually, as it was going on, I liked that it was playing behind her. I liked that she had a guitar this time instead of behind the piano. I think it was great. I think, you know, it wasn't, there were some nicks or whatever, but I really liked it. I'm really glad that she did this. It was hilarious. And I'm very glad we saw her in a sketch beforehand too.
Yes. I'll accept that criticism because you're right. Like Taylor Swift's a good singer, but like that's she's not like, you know, Katy Perry can belt a song, right? Or Ariana Grande can belt a song. Taylor Swift's, we're here for her songwriting, and she can sing decently well. Like she, Charlotte, tell us why you thought it was everything imperfect.
I mean, I really did think it was everything imperfect. I'm going to be so honest. And I have to say that I began many years ago as a very reluctant Taylor Swift fan. And it was only when, God bless these friends, it was my freshman year in college at Vanderbilt in Nashville. So obviously she was playing a Nashville show.
Right.
And these friends of mine had tickets to go. They were huge fans. And this other friend of theirs.
Which era was it?
Good question.
2010. I don't know, whatever that was.
That's like this era. Or no, it's before
No,
this.
it would have been before Red.
Speak
right?
Now.
It would have been
maybe?
Speak Now.
Yeah.
John.
Yes. Because like Mean, I think, and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, they're like, no, this person can't go anymore. Like, you should come take their ticket to that. And I was like, I don't know. Like, totally not going to go. And then finally, my friend pulls me aside and he's like, Charlotte, 12-year-old girls would kill themselves for this ticket. You are coming. And I was like, okay, got it. Like, and went. And it was like, to this day, one of the best concerts I've ever been to. And I instantly became a Taylor Swift fan at that point and then listened to every new album that came out like obsessed with her. So I have a real respect for her live show abilities. Like she knows how to work a crowd and connect. And even if she might not always be like exactly vocally correct, I don't have a great ear for pitch. So to me, she sounded great. Like, I think she does know how to like feed the energy and like give the people what they want. And so that I really respect and love. As for this performance, loved the leaves, agree. I actually did love the film playing in the background. I loved the lighting work. I love how it was this warm glow that made you feel like fall and you were upstate with them. And I was like, yes. And then I love when the lighting changed right for that moment where she delivered the line that gives me chills to this day, which is like, or to this day, it's only been out for like 2 days, but gives me chills every time I rewatch it, which is, I've never been that funny, but the joke goes that I was never
good at telling jokes, but the punchline goes, I'll get older and your lovers stay the same age.
Oh, so good.
She had like a little smile. She had like a wry little smile too, where she was like
pleased with herself at multiple points.
Yeah.
I was pleased too. I'm not as pleased with the line after. That kind of fell flat, but fine. Like I love this line. And I loved everything about it. And then I loved the ending. She added that little new mix where they came up and they said like those lines on repeat or something.
Yeah, those like that like acapella ending was haunting.
I was a little nervous about would a full 10 minutes hold me, and a full 10 minutes held me.
Yeah, I think because it's new. If this was 2 weeks after it came out, but no one, I mean, except for Catherine, I guess, had the chance to like listen to it that many times.
No, I would argue that that's a testament to her live performance capabilities. And I also do think that if you had been there, I did love that we could go from focusing on the movie and then close-ups of her face. Which if we were there in person, I don't know if we would have gotten all that. I don't know if, so that part was really
distracting,
cool.
Maybe.
Well, I don't know if you could have seen her as closely. Because like if you go see a concert, you can get you see the big screens and close-ups. Like I don't think they have that at SNL. So I think
have like monitors all around, but
maybe
you want to kind of watch it live. So you just kind of seeing it all.
Okay, yeah. I was trying to make you feel better, but
it would have been terrible.
Well, I already feel okay because I would have embarrassed myself.
I was gonna say my last thought is that, and this is again a compliment, but I like that Taylor Swift is still like pretty cringe and like really dramatic and over the top and just like the head banging and all that stuff. And like she's not. Some artists, they get super popular and are like, well, now I'm cool. Like now I'm gonna do all this like sleek stuff. Like I'm gonna change my sound. And Taylor Swift is like, no. I'm still gonna like open my heart and bleed on stage,
right?
And like be so dramatic and like feel all my feelings in front of you because that's the whole point. Like she didn't decide like, oh, okay, like,
right.
I'll do Starcross now. That's me shading Casey Musgraves. But I feel like Taylor Swift almost like she even like reposted one of the like Taylor Swift nights at some party when everyone's singing All Too Well, and she said something like, this is why I do it, to make people feel things. And like I think she knows that her music is like a place for people to feel their feelings.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like having it be approachable. Like you can feel your feelings to Phoebe Bridgers songs, but it's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna necessarily like scream sing that with your girlfriends driving to a party. You know, it's like a different thing that Taylor Swift scratches that itch that like, certain girls need.
But I will say to your point, I think it's because she commits so hard in these live performances, like you said, that one could say that maybe it's cringe. It makes everybody else feel safe to sing along and feel all the feelings in a quote unquote over the top way when really they're just like feeling it deeply. So I do respect that about her, that she doesn't feel this need to become sort of more buttoned up and cool, quote unquote. I love that she feels all of the feelings.
So Taylor Swift, big win, perfect, flawless, iconic, dare we say. Absolutely loved it, absolutely adored it. Do not come at me. Big win from Taylor. We must eventually move on, I guess. Let's talk about update. Jost and Shay discuss Taylor Swift's scarf and also the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Charlotte, was update a win?
I thought Update was a win this week. I really did. Thought all the jokes were tight. I love when there's a good, like kind of cringy, like when Shay throws in his sort of like dumb, cringy jokes. And now it's escaping me. I wrote them down somewhere. But anyway, I loved I don't really have anything to say except a great update, which was a welcome respite because the sketches up until this point were falling flat a little. So I was happy Weekend Update came through.
I thought it was such a strong outing. We spent so much energy on Taylor Swift. How could we possibly have?
I know. I have no like brain power left. I had like all these like specific jokes I thought were funny, and
but Jost and Shay came with like a lot of energy. I thought a lot of the jokes were really good. I thought they were really strong. I had fun with it. I won't dive into the issues with the Taylor Swift joke they told because I already sound insane. So Katie, did you enjoy Update?
I liked Update a lot. I'm not the biggest Jost Shay fan. They're not my favorite duo behind the Update desk. But I really liked this one. I thought, I liked the Bannon joke. The one about like crying white people was kind of like it got claps and not laughs. It was like people liked the point but not the joke. But then, like that'll happen when you do politics jokes, whatever. But I liked it. I really liked the Texas ADA joke about that Texas like executes a lot of people. That was like kind of got a groan from the crowd. And I feel like when Shay does that thing, usually I'm like, well, it wasn't a good joke, or like it was actually offensive. But I was like, no, that was a good joke.
Yeah.
Like, he's right. You guys are wrong. Like, we're allowed to make fun of the fact or like laugh at Texas being evil sometimes, or like, no, that was an okay point. I like that. I also really like Giraffe Dahmer or whatever that was.
Yeah, that was one of the dumb ones.
That was silly.
It was also, I forget the joke before it, but it was like kind of dark. And then it was like, Colin was like, we'll get him back. Anyway, 3 dead giraffes. And they were like, oh, crap. Catherine, your sketch also got a shout out, if you noticed that. The airplane sex joke. I think that was the one before. It was like a sad climate change joke. And then I was like,
the polar
dying.
Yeah, that one, I got nervous when they set that up because for those listening, I have a sketch that I've written about Mile High like sex planes that you can rent to have sex in that I'm filming this week. And so I was like, oh, please don't. But then they went a very different direction with it than I did. So it's okay. We will recover. But I'm glad that it got a little press. So maybe I can capture the heat.
Yeah. I think that's the move.
That's perfect.
Let's move on to our features. First up, Sarah Sherman makes her Update debut to discuss some things that just don't make sense about this show. Katie, were you impressed with Sarah's moment?
I loved it. I thought it was so fun. Just right from the beginning, such good energy of just like, and it's indie, like, I love New York, or like whatever that little voice was that she put on. It was so funny. I loved the like threatening nature of it. And then just immediately just like trying to cancel Colin Jost, and the graphics were great. Calling Michael J. White feminist is hilarious and very layered. And then the joke about he's keeping track of how many Jews was also like very funny and towing the line, I think. And then just where'd you get your suit? The friggin' store. I loved it. So it was kind of like, okay, we get that like people get mad at each other for taking stuff out of context, and mansplaining is bad and this is bad, but it was also just like deeply silly and like, the friggin' store, like burn on you, and Jay being like, yeah, you suck. It was just like, it was very, very silly and lighthearted. She did great. I loved that bit.
Yeah, I thought this was so good. When they announced that they hired her, I was like, I don't, as just not even a comment on like her comedy skill level or not, I'm just like not sure how her sense of humor is going to translate to SNL. Like, I'm not sure what she's going to do. And up until this point, I still was not sure. Like, she's been in a lot of things and she's been doing a great job, but we haven't really seen anything that's like hers yet. Like, she's been kind of performing other people's stuff. But this nailed it. I thought this, it is definitely in her voice. Like, this is, I feel like this high energy, just like kind of crazy persona. And this was such a strong debut. The audience was eating it up, which is hard to do after you just had a Taylor Swift 10-minute performance and they're all Taylor Swift fans. Like, what they came for is over. And you still had them getting some of the loudest laughs of the night. So that's huge.
That's a good point.
I loved the game of it. I love twisting everything Colin says. I love Colin being like the cast punching bag. I thought this was super fun, and she performed the hell out of it. So huge win. Charlotte, how about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. I loved this. Yeah, and to your point about the premise being clear, whatever. I also just love how each punch up got like sillier and more extreme in its jump, you know? So I love that. And to your point about working the audience, I think this is what is so great is when there's somebody who is so comfortable performing live, and she's so clearly was sort of like playing up with the audience. And like, I bet this was a totally different vibe when she did the reading, you know, at the table read. So I just love that she was so comfortable up there and so comfortable being goofy and silly. Cause I feel like sometimes we don't get a lot of silliness. And I loved it so much. And I loved her energy.
Yep. Yeah. So big win for Sarah Sherman. Very excited. I love to see the update debuts. And we've got another one. Laughintosh 3000, the first robot trained in stand-up comedy, making his update debut. Charlotte, was it a win for you?
Almost. Again, I'm always rooting for the new, you know, the rookie cast members, and I'm really rooting for Aristotle. And I think like this was a really great idea because I feel like I saw something in the news or on Instagram recently about these kind of, you know, robot or some sort of AI that makes an automatic stand-up routine for you. So it was a great idea.
Cool.
I'm
sign me up.
I really saw it. So this is a thing. So I like that he decided to be the robot, and he did the robot voice so well. So I want to give him kudos for that. I think what it was that like, I wasn't sure which direction we were going in. If we were going to
just like his girlfriend.
Yeah. Also, we were all needing the girlfriend's GPS directions here. Yeah, I don't know, because I thought it started off strong with doing like a tired joke about Staten Island, right? Like, oh, I hate it there. So then I kind of wanted like every next topic to be some sort of tired joke. And then that would be the funny bit, is that he's making fun of how every comedian will make the same joke about Staten Island, right? And so that's what's funny about it. So then I kind of want him to keep doing that about, you know, and get more extreme. But then it went into the girlfriend, and then it just, I don't know. It didn't quite totally work for me, even though I wanted it to. I'll be curious what you two think.
Okay. Well, I'll come at it with a different hot take. I really liked it. I thought it was really good. It was you know, it's great to see both featured players come out, you know. That's really cool. But also I just think the premise is really clever. Like, just to have like what would a robot stand up do, and like to make the tired joke off the bat was, I don't know, like to me, like that's what it was, right? Like, yes, if the robot is like a hack comedian. But I see what you're saying, because he didn't continue down that path. Like he then like did have like a little bit of a routine that was different. But I don't know. I still loved it. I think I was just so blown away by the robot voice that I think like almost like it didn't even matter what he said,
he's
because
so amazing.
it was uncanny.
Yeah.
Like just like the inflections and how the stuttering, and how like, you know, when you have Siri like read a text message, she'll like start words before she's finished the last one almost, and he was like doing that. I don't know, like that was, I could not possibly make my voice do that. So on a performance level, I was like, this is amazing. Well, how are you doing this? You know? But I also liked the premise of it a lot. And I thought, you know, I was having fun with it. So it left me feeling really energized coming out of update, you know, especially when I was, you know, crying over Taylor Swift, and then this came up, you know.
Got you back up.
It got me back in the show, you know. Katie, or which side are you gonna land
I think
on?
I'm in between both of you. I think I was really blown away by the voice, and I was like, that's almost enough. I liked the like GPS girlfriend jokes at the end, but I think, I agree with Charlie. There could have been a little bit more. I was thinking just like, what if like the Staten Island joke is really tired, if they had said something like, oh, we accidentally like only got up to like the 80s when we were programming like jokes into him, and then he's doing like weird Andrew Dice Clay type my girlfriend, whatever. Like that could have been fun. But some of it was like it was making a bunch of like jokes about apps and stuff, and I was kind of like, yeah, I feel like we've seen a lot of those kind of like tech jokes. But yeah, the performance was so good, I almost didn't really mind. I was like, I'm enjoying watching you do whatever. I'm enjoying you make sounds with your mouth. It's insane.
Okay, so maybe a qualified win, but a win nonetheless.
Yeah.
Solid update. Big night for the featured players. Congrats, guys. We love to see it.
Woo.
Let's get into the back half of the show. Up first, it turns out this Broadway review is not fun for the whole family. Katie, what are your thoughts on this?
I like this one. I was glad we finally saw Bowen. That was great. And it was it was simple. I think it could have gone to more places. Like we could have gotten beats about now they're singing about sexual stuff. Now they're singing about crimes or violence. It just stuck to drugs. But it also, I forget how long it actually was, but it felt short enough. And Cecily and Bowen were fun enough. And the dialogue was like punchy and jazzy and the songs were fun enough. I was okay with where it went. I think it could have used more variety, but I liked it. I had fun watching it.
That's like my exact thoughts. I'm not always the biggest fan of the Cecily musical numbers, but I did like the premise of this one more than most, because there is a lot to do here. Like there's so much just questionable stuff in there, and I just wish they would have touched on it all. Like the drugs are funny, but like there's also like weird like sexual tension and like jokes about her body and like stuff that they could have gotten to, just like you said. Like I think more could have been done here, so ultimately it was more middle of the road, but I didn't mind it. Great review. Charlotte, what did you think?
I mean, I totally agree. I love a song, so I was really happy to see a song and love Broadway, love Cecily and Bowen. So yeah, I loved Kyle and Adie as the parents and the little girl. It was all a win, except I fully agree with both of you that I would have liked it to just keep going. Yeah. I would have loved to see like a prostitute come out or something. I don't know. Just like everything you don't want your kid to see in like their first Broadway musical. I mean, they had so far to go. So I think that, that was the only thing. I kind of wanted a little more too, but it was still great.
Fair enough. All right. So another one like we had in the front half, a cool premise, didn't fully deliver on it. Let's keep going. From Bone Thugs and Harmony, introducing Dog Bones and Melodies. Charlotte, how'd you feel about this one?
Yeah, guys, what? How? Like, I was like, what am I watching? Oh my God, it was like so weird and it was so funny. And like, I was just like, what happened? Was this a late night idea? And I kind of loved it.
Oh, it had to be.
Had to be. I mean, I have to say, I love like Chris Redd and Keenan's team whenever they do songs. So I will say this wasn't my favorite song. It was a weird idea of like doing like this rap group that decides to sell bones and they are not good at selling the bones. And so all of that was really funny, but it was just like almost a little too weird for me or something. I can't even put my finger on what it was exactly because I loved all the different types of bones. Like that kind of heightened and was weird. I liked the customers coming in and it being like only 10 cents. I liked the accountant. I don't know. It was like a win, but also I was left still confused or something.
Fair enough. Katie, where'd you land?
Yeah, I wrote down my notes, just said, takeaway, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Like
it was very weird. It was a very good back of the show sketch. It was very dumb. I liked it. There wasn't like a ton that I was like obsessed with.
Right.
I think my favorite part was the element that the store was like very bad at being a store.
Yeah.
And like they're selling stuff for like way too cheap and someone coming in and being like, can I have a harness? Being like, no. And also you can't look around.
Yeah.
And the accountant being like, I'm going to quit. You guys, this is so bad. You can't do this. I liked that, but I don't think they were trying to do a sketch where they're exploring the world of a dog bone store that is run by Bone Thugs and Harmony and only sends, I think they wanted to do like a silly song. And it was fun. It was lighthearted. I didn't love it, but I was like, yeah. It wasn't. I think there were earlier sketches where I was like, yeah, I feel like I don't understand it, or you're not reaching the potential. This is kind of like, yeah, this is silly and stupid, and okay,
Yeah.
not hurting me.
This 300% was like a 4 a.m. idea of like,
Yeah.
hey guys, what if Bone Thugs sold bones? And then somehow it got made by Saturday. Like
Incredible production quality too. Like when you think about
Right?
it, like
Mhm.
to put into a Bone Thug rap
Right.
song.
Like they made a bone store.
Amazing.
It's just like the main thing that I was enjoying, like it got to the point where they said bone so many times that just became funny.
Yeah.
It was just like beat you over the head repetition of this word to the point that it's ridiculous, and now that's the funny thing. Um so like I was like giggling and I was like, what on earth is this? But it's not like the strongest sketch of the night. Just like you said, you guys hit all the points. So, all right. So another sort of qualified win of like, okay, fine, we'll go along with this. But not the strongest stuff we've seen. So let's talk about the 10-1. The pastor and his wife at the First Damn Baptist Church are now in an open relationship and seeking applicants. Katie, was this a win?
Not really. I feel like I'm being such a hater, but yeah, this one felt like not super focused. Like, that's a funny premise, but then it was like, are they hitting on the what is congregation, or is the congregation was hitting on them? But like, also like, no one called out this was weird. It just seemed like they were maybe playing like a few different games at once, and then like, I wasn't sure of like their I mean, I really like the joke of like, we've had 24 wonderful years of marriage, and then last year I thought that was great.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, and they like did like the fake dating app riff. Like, I didn't really understand how that fit into it. Like, they were like Tinder, Grinder, and like a bunch of fake ones, and that I didn't really get. Um, yeah, yeah, it just wasn't clear enough for me. And then like, so like the heightening didn't really work because it was kind of just like felt like different beats. Um, yeah, wasn't a home run for me.
Okay. I'll come at it with a different take. I thought it was
Ooh.
super fun.
Nice.
I had a great time because I liked that like they were exploring this topic, but doing it in a way where like them being in an open relationship wasn't the joke. Right? Like it was the jokes were about how people react to it and how they don't want to have sex with just anybody. You know, like they really have like the one specific guy they want, you know, like so and I think that's a fun thing to explore, like people's reactions to this, like, and especially in like a church, you know, like a Southern Baptist church. I thought it was smart and fun and goofy, and I liked that each character, like each member of the congregation, was fully a character. You know, and to your point, like it could be said that this is a bad thing for a sketch, but this like I could watch a sitcom with these people, and like have fun with all of those just like chaotic energy in the church congregation. So yeah, I just thought it was really fun and goofy, and it was a really strong cap off the night for me. Charlotte,
yeah,
which way you go?
I hear Katie's points. I did find it one of the strongest sketches of the night, at least for me. Like, I found myself laughing through it, where some of the earlier sketches I wasn't always. So I definitely found it funny. And I do think, in a way, to your point, Catherine, like having it be in a congregation, you would think that this would be judged, but I loved that the whole congregation bought in, and I loved that they played with the "Can I get an amen?" or they had like another thing they did for like
I don't remember what it was.
Hooking up with people or something. So I did sort of love that. Yeah, that wasn't the butt of the joke. The butt of the joke was more their taste and then like how they're going about doing it, which was. But to Katie's point, I did sort of want a straight man or somebody to maybe bring it back down to earth. Like, we're talking about this in Sunday service. Like, you know, that part was a little weird. So it almost just needed some sort of grounding element. I think that's what it was, maybe, is that it was just sort of so like, here we are and this is what's happening. And there were so many sort of funny moments, but I was sort of wishing for something to kind of ground one of the the pastors are grounded a little bit to be like, this is crazy. And then I think that would have been funny to see that reaction.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you all have valid points. I had fun with it, but it's okay if you didn't.
No, I still loved it. I
wonder if it was the third sketch if I would have had different opinions on it. I think the fact that it was like not the home run of an episode, and I was kind of like, all right, I didn't love it top, and I was like, okay, I want to get back to my life. If it was like third, or if it was like after the man park, maybe I would have been like, all right, let's get into this church. But I was kind of like, all right,
that's a good point, because I did watch it first out of order, because I just watched the first round like in my bed last night, and as they were going up on YouTube, so that would have made a difference. I think it's a good point.
Yeah, the show order, it will play a big factor in it. There's a lot to be said for that, of like, if there's a few sketches that don't land. A few episodes ago, there was this mattress store sketch on the Rami Malek episode, and I really did not like it on the night, because I think I was just in a bad mood. And like, there were the few sketches before it I didn't love, and then like I got to that one, I didn't like it, and then a few days later I watched it again and I was like, this is great. I love this sketch. Like the rest of the show will affect you, and how willing you are to go along the ride of any individual sketch. So that's a good point. If you put Keenan and Ego up there though, like I'm gonna be here for it. They stole the show for sure. All right. So, varied reviews on the last sketch. But the episode, I feel like we were all kind of on the same page about, especially Taylor Swift. But let's talk about our overall ratings and thoughts. Up first is moment of the night. Katie, what is it?
I will give you the Taylor Swift one to be your moment of the night. So my moment of the night, I think, is going to be Sarah Sherman saying, I look like Chucky went to Sarah Lawrence. I actually forgot about that, and I saw it in my notes, and I was like, oh yeah, that was so funny. I mean, her whole bit was funny. Her outfit was very funny. Her wearing like overalls under, or like a full button-up shirt under also very loud overalls. That was just, I loved that line. That was so funny.
Loved it.
Fair enough. As a surprise to literally no one, my moment of the night is in the Taylor Swift performance, but I will pick a specific moment, and that is that a cappella ending, because in the recording of the song, it does like, that's there and it just sort of fades out, but to have like the music cut and then like the harmonies, just do it a few times. Wow, it was beautiful. Charlotte, what's your moment of the night?
My moment of the night is also going to be Taylor Swift, and it's the moment I spoke about earlier, which is when the lights changed for her to say that line, and I got chills the 3 times I watched it. So that is my moment of the night, and I loved it.
The arrangement in that little section is different too. Like, there was like a really strong drum beat live that I don't think is there in the recording. All right, Taylor stealing the show.
Taylor.
Let's talk about best sketch, Katie.
Best sketch. Please Don't Destroy. I loved that one. That was fun. That's the one that I think, that and Man Park. Loved both of them. Those are the ones that I'm definitely gonna like go back to. Yeah, that's gonna have the most staying power, I think. And we had a Taylor cameo, obviously.
For sure. Yeah. My best sketch is Taylor Swift performing Alternate.
We'll give it to you.
Look, I'm the host. I make the rules, honey. No, I will also give it to Please Don't Destroy. I thought that was far and away the strongest of the night. It was such high energy. It was well written with good jokes. It had a Taylor cameo. Just a lot of rewatch power on that one for sure. Charlotte, what's your best moment?
I'm gonna give it to Man Park. Because I also love that sketch, but then Man Park was also my favorite, and I want to give them a shout out because I really find no faults in that sketch, and I felt like it was sort of like perfect all the way through, and so that was my best sketch, and I'll rewatch that for sure and send it out.
Fair enough. I love that is like a universal marker that like a lot of guests come on the show, and I do it too. I'm like, yeah, which one, like, if I'll send it to my friends, that's the best one, because like, what do I want to share? All right, let's talk MVP. Who is it, Katie?
I think Pete's my MVP, because I also liked my Man Park and Please Don't Destroy. He was prominent in those, so I think it only makes sense. I was thinking about Sarah Sherman because I really did like that piece, and I like that was her first outing, but those two sketches are both so strong. I gotta give it to him.
Fair enough. I'm really, really torn on my MVP. I think I will eventually land on Taylor Swift. I think, a case could be made for Keenan, a case could be made for Ego, a case could be made for Sarah. The Keenan and Ego in particular just had a lot of appearances and really like sort of stole the moment in their appearances, whereas Sarah just had a really big moment with a great update debut. I'm really not sure. Let's go. I'm gonna give it to Sarah. That was a really strong showing, and it was something I wasn't sure. I still wasn't sure what to expect from her, and she showed me, and I loved it. So, great job. We loved it. It's always exciting, like I've said 100 times, to see the feature player get their big moment. So yeah, MVP Sarah Sherman. Charlotte, what about you?
That's mine too. I wrote that down. Yeah,
Maybe I'll change mine then.
No, I don't mean for you to change yours. I just was proud of myself this week because many weeks I come and I'm super waffly, and I made sure to make a decision ahead of time. And this is my decision. I'm sticking with it. I agree. Sarah Sherman really impressed me. I just loved her energy. I loved her ability to feed off the crowd energy and give it to them. And the way she worked with Che and Colin and the whole idea of it. And I loved it. It was unique. It was very her, and it was so strong. And that's, it's her first season there. That's tough to do, to be really sort of fully yourself in a new place. So I loved it. She's my MVP. I love her.
I will, like, Ego was definitely my runner up. Like the Queen sketch and the pastor sketch, like I think she stole the spotlight there.
Yeah.
And was the thing that I really loved about both of them. So okay, let's talk about the big one. On a scale of classic, great, decent, weak, or train wreck, Katie, how would you rate this episode?
I think I just got to give it decent. It's I was like running through the sketches this afternoon, and I really was only really thinking of the cold open, Man Park, and Please Don't Destroy. And I was like, what are the other ones? And those were in the range of like, they didn't work, which was like the sci-fi one, to like, it was fine, but forgettable, like the Broadway one. So, Man Park and Please Don't Destroy, I think, were my favorites. Taylor was obviously great. That just wasn't enough to like make up for the meh of the other sketches to me, unfortunately. So I gotta give it a decent.
Yeah, I mean, in my heart, it's a classic because of Taylor Swift. But if we're looking at the sketch fair, it's a decent. Yeah, like you said, just a lot of kind of forgettable things. A lot of things that I loved in theory that just didn't pan out as well as they should have or could have. So yeah, I don't know. It just especially like last week's episode was really, really good, in my opinion. And so this one definitely felt like a little bit of a step down from that. But yeah, good premises and a few sketches that I really, really liked. Just a lot of sketches that I were like, yeah, this is fine. So yeah, firm decent for me. Charlotte, where are you landing?
Yeah, I'm at decent. Yeah, because I agree. I agree with you both. Some of the sketches just were forgettable. And even though I loved so many premises, I thought there was so much potential. And then I was excited for Jonathan Majors, but I don't know if it just, maybe the sketches weren't a right fit for him, but it felt like I didn't get everything from him that I wanted to. So that was kind of also why I was a little bit maybe disappointed.
Yeah, so decent episode. We are unanimous in that. Premises that didn't deliver on the promise of the premise. But great moments. Please Don't Destroy, obviously a highlight. Weekend Update, really strong. Taylor Swift. Just make the whole show Taylor Swift. I wouldn't have complained. Obviously. So yeah, that's that. Thank you both so much for being here. Katie, this was great having you. I'm so glad you came on the show.
Thank you. This was fun.
Do you have any shows coming up? Anything you want to plug?
I don't have a ton of shows coming up right now. You can always follow me on Twitter at Katie Talley, and you can tune in to Wilburn Show December 17th that I'm directing. That'll be fun. Catherine's gonna have like 6 or 8 Taylor Swift sketches in that one, so it's on Twitch.
Yep. Twitch.tv/BoogieManja.
Nice, thank you.
17th December. I am working on a Taylor Swift scarf sketch. We'll see if I have the energy to produce it. It might be a best of show. We don't know yet.
Mhm.
We haven't decided.
Well, Taylor also has a music video coming out tomorrow, apparently, so that's also going to eat up a lot of your time.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
understand. She has to let people.
Exhausted.
What's
And
the
before you
music
know
video
it,
for? Which
It's
song?
Adele is coming out with a new album too.
Oh, God.
It's going to be rough holidays.
Charlotte, what do you have going on?
Yes, the sketch group that I am in with Catherine as well, that Catherine directs, Laugh Index Theater. We have a show this Wednesday, the 17th at 8 p.m. It's completely virtual as well, so you can watch it from the comfort of your home, a glass of wine and some popcorn. And you can visit litcomedy.com/events/lit-homecoming. I wrote it down.
I love that you wrote that down. It's also.
Do you want me to
it'll be on-
repeat it for everybody? That's litcomedy.com/events/lit-homecoming.
Nice.
Nailed it. It'll be on YouTube on the Laugh Index Theater page. It's going to be like a partially live show actually, because like it's like a special show. It's like the Lit Homecoming show. So yeah, we've got some live things that we're going to be streaming, some pre-recorded things. It's going to be a good time, you know. And it's actually really fun on this call. We're like 3 generations because Katie directs the team I'm on, and then I direct the team Charlotte's on. So, I don't know if Katie, that makes you feel worse about being 30, like now, because now you're also like a sketch grandma.
No, I'm not 30. I'm 29. Put that in my lower third, please.
Oh my God.
I am 30, so you know, it's fine.
Okay, good.
So yeah, you can see Katie's directorial work at the Boogie Manja show with my team Wilburn on December 17th. You can see Charlotte performing some stuff this Wednesday at whatever URL she just said. And that is a wrap. Thanks to Katie Talley and Charlotte O'Trimba. And thanks as well to our most generous patrons, Sam Bowers, Neil Weinstein, Justin Gardner, Grace Kogan, and Brian Clark. If you're enjoying our show, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever better podcasts can be found. Your subscription helps us grow, and your support is greatly appreciated. We'll be back in 1 week when SNL returns with host Simu Liu and musical guest Saweetie. But until then, this has been episode number 147 of the Saturday Night Live Afterparty podcast. I'm Catherine Coleman. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.